Hello, I think we've got the stream up and running now. Just double checking, pulling it up so I can see all y'all, or see anyone that's out there. Looks like it's streaming. I'm just gonna edit the title to make it week 4, and we're good to go. Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to the 4th week of MBA 590 Digital Marketing. Hopefully you all have gotten into your groups by now and that's all going great. Should be up and running. There were a couple of things with people just being in the wrong groups or things like that, but I think we've sorted all that out now, so that should be good, which is great because your first assignment is due. So the project introduction and team contract are due on February 8th, and these are really simple. The point of the project introduction is I kind of want to make sure that you've identified a company and you've started working with them already. So all I want you to do is kind of describe the company, describe what it does, and then describe why it needs a digital marketing plan. I've had questions about length and things like that. I want you to write whatever you need to write to express those thoughts, right? In general, I don't like to give out length guidelines, but roughly most of the ones I do get submitted are somewhere in the vicinity of 2 to 5 pages, right? So that kind of gives you at least some guideline of what I've seen in the past. Let's see, and other comments about that. The team contract is really for you. So think carefully about it and think how you're going to fill it out. And hopefully it provides kind of a set of talking points as well for you and your team to kind of get the ball rolling. One of the big points about the team contract, right, is that a lot of people see the document that I put up for the group project and they just say, hey, Bob's going to do part 5, Sarah's going to do part 6, et cetera, and they just kind of break it down that way. And the problem with that I find is that when I read those marketing plans, they don't seem cohesive, right? This is supposed to be one cohesive pitch by your group working as kind of consulting company, if you will, to an organization. And so as a result, it shouldn't read like 5 people wrote it or 6 people wrote it. It should read like one company came up with the idea. So what does that have to do with the team contract? Well, what it has to do with the team contract is you can put in explicitly kind of the roles for certain people to be editors, for instance, to give the overall development a common voice, right? So that even if you're splitting it up, you can have someone who's in charge of putting it all back together, right? Those are all due 1 week from today at midnight, as appropriate, right? Also on February 8th, you are going to get your first individual assignment, and this is going to be the conceptual assignment, right? You can think of it as very similar in spirit to kind of the weekly readings that we've been doing, right? So there will probably be a reading or something like that. You have to think about it. You then have to decide what actions or what solutions you would recommend in that space, right? And there will be a set of questions to guide you through that. You will have 1 week to complete that assignment. It will be due on February 15th, okay? Yeah, okay, so that's it for the group contract and the individual assignment. I am pulling up just the overall YouTube channel to see if anyone's out there. Any other comments I want to make? So I want to also talk about the weekly reading that will be posted later today, probably actually posted shortly after I'm done recording this video. The reading assignment will be probably on the topic of, I have a couple in mind, but I haven't picked the exact one. It'll be something to do with analytics. It may involve social media, right? So that's kind of the idea that I'm looking at, since kind of stay there. I do want to make a comment too as well. What I posted in the syllabus, you don't have to keep up every week with the videos. In fact, I may be slowing down a little bit on some of the videos, putting them out there, just because I'm finding from the offline class that it's taking a little longer to get through some of this content, and so I want to make sure you're absorbing it all. And I know in that first week I dumped a lot of videos on you, right? There were quite a bit for the first week, and so I want to make sure you've had the time to kind of go through all that and kind of catch up. I will try and keep putting out videos to stay about 2 weeks ahead of where we are, which is what we're at right now. But just so you know, don't feel like you have to be that you're falling way behind because you haven't gotten to the social media channels, the strategy videos yet, right? Those, ideally you'd be expecting to watch those next week, but if you get to them the week after or something like that, it's not a big deal. The main point is to make sure that you keep filling out any of the assignments, that you're staying on top of the assignments, doing those as best you can, and that you are staying up with the readings, obviously, and participating in the forums, and keeping up with the videos as much as you can, right? By the way, I posted a video on the augmented reality one, and I hope to post some on the survey and some other things shortly. Just trying to get all the notes together for all those. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions that came up over the week? There is a template for the team contract. There is a very explicit document for the team project. As I mentioned before, the team project, I don't expect you to I want you to write the best digital marketing plan you can. At times that might mean not following the team project guidelines perfectly, and I'm totally okay with that, right? As long as it's, somewhat clear why you're doing it, right? And if you for some reason feel uneasy about, leaving out a section or something like that because you don't think it's appropriate, feel free to write me an explanatory note, right? Like send me an email and tell me why you decided to skip that particular section, right? And I'm perfectly okay with that. So I want you to write the best digital marketing plan you can based upon the material we're covering in this class, of course, and any other external knowledge we have about this idea, right? But that's up to you, right? Really. I also had hopefully all of you have chosen an organization and company. I've had a bunch of questions, in the previous week about what kind of organization to choose. My advice has always been, it's always better to choose an organization that you have some ties to, someone that you can get responses and questions from on a regular basis. So you really are writing a plan that's fulfilling their needs rather than just writing a plan kind of in a vacuum. I had some questions, by the way, about, we don't want to get into liability issues for posting content with a company's name that we don't have permission from, right? And obviously that can be an issue, right? And I've yet to see it be a big one in terms of the projects. Most companies don't seem to care too much. But that being said, if you're worried at all about those things, you can always choose kind of a fake name or an organization name for that content, right? Even if the marketing plan itself describes it in real words, right, within the actual company, right? You could, for instance, if you're going to do Papa John's, you could have a Mama Jane's pizza site, right, and just kind of describe it there, right? Something along those lines. Just in that way, you can always distribute that content. You can look at that content. You can see it's there, right? So, for instance, you can create a Mama Jane's Twitter account and be posting to it on a weekly basis. The idea is that then you can then show off, right, the kinds of content that you would have produced. And in fact, I highly recommend you do that sooner rather than later, right? Think about sometime in the next couple of weeks what kinds of creative content you're going to create, and then figure out a way to start creating it, right? And that, if that's live on Twitter, that's, in some ways the easiest way, or, on a Facebook page or something like that, that's the easiest way. But if instead you just want to mock it up in a graphics package, right? That's also possible, right? So you could just start building mock-ups of what it would look like. Regardless, I want to see that you have thought through the campaign and through the marketing plan sufficiently that you have a decent collection of assets that you could present to the company at the end of the marketing, at the pitch of the marketing plan, right? Because obviously, if you go in and you say you should use social media, you should use some social media, a lot of firms are just going to sit there and go, yeah, but what does that look like? What should I do on social media, right? And so you need to present them with some examples of what a campaign in that space would look like. So start thinking about that sooner rather than later, right? Because you're going to want to collect an assortment of these, and if you try and do it all at the last minute, that's going to be very difficult to do. So, for instance, if you do have a company that's willing to work with you, start posting tweets, almost immediately, right? And getting some feedback on what's working for them. Okay. I think that's about it for today. We are just finishing up in terms of the videos, right? We're finishing up social media. We'll be starting in social media channels strategy, this week. And there's a couple of videos up on that. There's also a video up on the augmented reality reading if you want to go back and take a look at that. And shortly we'll be working on data analytics. So the reading this week will be an analytical reading, but it'll be in the space of social media. And then for next week, which would be the real analytics case, we'll be looking at a little bit more intense analytics kind of work. It's kind of hard to say. We'll be looking at another analytics piece as well, basically, in the end. I don't want to say it's necessarily more intense, okay? So that's it for this week. I hope you're finding these videos useful. I'm going to do a poll next week just to kind of see how people are liking the class, if there's certain things I should spend more time on, less time on, etc. So feel free, give me feedback as we're going through. I'm going to do this 3 times during this class because it's the first time it's being run. Once at the 5-week mark, once at the 10-week mark, and once at the end of the class, okay? So take care, everyone. Hope all is well, and good luck with getting your project introduction and team contracts done.